everybody, welcome back to Taji's World of Books and welcome to another book series recommendation video. Hi guys, so welcome back. I am finishing up the Steele Brothers Saga by Helen Hart, and I did the first 3 books, and I told you I was going to be dividing them up. And Helen, thank you, Helen, for doing this, which she did because there's like 24 books in this series, and it's an ongoing series that she's continuing to write in. I think the last book is set to come out June 23rd, and it's just, she's just rolling. She just keeps writing in it. But what she did to make life easier for us, thank you, is that it's set in 3 books. So 3 books is about a particular couple, ongoing storyline. The next 3 books is about the next couple, so on and so forth, and I'll explain as I go. So the first 3 books I already talked about in my last review. Those were about the middle brother Talon. There are 4 Steeles. There is Jonas, or Joe, Talon, Ryan, and then the sister Marjorie. And it is all their story, and it's their saga, and then we go into the second generation. So the first 3 books are about Talon, and we know that Talon was abducted as a child, and as a result of that abduction, he is going through some really dark, rough times in his life. There is an ongoing story. So the Steele brothers are the product of Daphne and Brad Steele, and they had the Steele children. And through this time, the father was engaged in various nefarious dealings and underworld illegal activity that ultimately resulted in the kidnapping of his son. You know, one could argue through actions of his own or not through actions of his own, or just, you know, a happenstance or a product of circumstance, but nonetheless it happened. And secrets and lies are being unfolded and being revealed, and you know, the things that they believed, the Steele children believed to be true for their entire lives, they are now learning were all lies that their parents, that their father told them, and so each book reveals more and more of a story. So having said that, that's the plot, that's the back plot. And it's about, you know, a sex trafficking ring, pedophile, political involvement, local city council. The books are set in Colorado, in a small town in Colorado just outside of Denver. And so local city council are involved, the police are involved, like a lot of different factors are coming up to speed. A lot of attorneys are involved. It's a secret sort of organization or society that was developed when the members were developed when they were in college. And we're just really trying to understand how these Steele kids are impacted by this and how this billion-dollar ranch, the Steele Empire, is also impacted and involved. Okay, so we did Talon's book. So this is 4, 5, and 6. It's Melt, Burn, Surrender. And these books are about the oldest brother, Jonah. And Jonah is the one who feels most responsible because when Talon went off, there is a friend of Talon's named Luke. Luke was abducted and kidnapped by someone, they don't know who, and this is not the first time that they were kidnapping. Another little girl was kidnapped in this neighborhood as well. So Talon, that being his friend, was like, I want to go and find out what happened to my friend. Jonah, come with us. Me and Ryan are going to go over to his farm and his ranch and check out and see if we can get any clues. And Jonah's like, I got to get home. I got to help Mom. I'm the oldest. I got stuff to do. Like, I got chores. No, I can't help you. So then Talon is like, we're going. So Talon and Ryan go off to explore and try and get clues, and that's when Talon is abducted. Talon protects Ryan and says, Ryan, run home. He's the baby. Run home, go get help, go get help. And they take him off. And then when Jonah finds out about it, he then has held himself responsible for his brother's kidnapping for like 20-something years. Like, it's been a long time that he's beaten himself up about this. Now, Ryan was at a conference in Denver, in Boulder or somewhere, at a conference. He is sitting next to a woman. She's beautiful. He meets her, he talks to her, and come to find out she is a psychologist in this small town that they live in, and she specializes in trauma. And he's like, oh my God, let me get your contact information. He gets the contact information, and in the first 3 books, she is the therapist that works with Talon to help Talon come out of his PTSD, and she really makes a big difference. So in this book, they're like, we need to recommend a therapist. You need a therapist, Jonah. Talon is better. He's working through his issues. You need to work through your stuff. And that therapist's name is Melanie. So now here's the thing that I have a problem with. And I don't know if I have a problem with it, but it's like, I am, for those of you who don't know, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and that is what I do by trade. And the things that went down in this book, like, are, Melanie embarks in a relationship with with Jonah while he is still a patient of hers. And that is a big no-no. Now, you want me to suspend belief. They never discuss it. It never is talked about. They never address it in here. Now, granted, she is a MD. She's a psychiatrist, but she doesn't work as a psychologist. She also has a master's degree in clinical psychology, so she works as a psychologist. They don't ever really address it here. They just kind of dwindle out with the therapy, and then she becomes like the therapist for the family, and I'm like, you're asking me to suspend belief a lot here. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, this is such a no-no. And so she stops seeing him in therapy so that they can embark on a relationship. And the guidelines, the ethical guidelines, clearly say you cannot have sex with your patients, and you can't stop seeing a patient so that you can have sex with them or like having a relationship with them so you no longer see them in therapy. And that's exactly what she does. So I kind of honed in on that. But aside for that, the relationship between Melanie and Jonah is really beautiful. They help to heal one another. There's some stuff in Melanie's past that needs to be worked through, and there's stuff in Jonah's past that needs to be worked through. And if you think of it as a tapestry or a spider web, like, all of these little intricacies are connected. Like, we find that Melanie connects with Ruby, and Ruby is one of the police detectives on her case, and Ruby's going to become significant later. Like, we're finding like all kinds of clues with the tattoo artist that put the tattoo on. The tattoo is the one that Talon remembers from one of his attackers. So we're trying to investigate and find out more information about that. So there's a lot of who, what, when, where, how that's getting slowly unpacked and unfolded, and we're starting to really understand this. Helen Hart writes a really smutty and spicy book, so for sure the spice is a 4 in this, if not a 5. And I gave this an overall 4 because Talon's story was so heartbreaking and so groundbreaking because of the PTSD representation in there that it made Jonah's story fall a little bit flat, but we're still kind of getting the story, so it's still good nonetheless, but it wasn't as good as Talon's book. So that's Jonah. So then in the next 3 books, we are now getting the little brother, the Little Steele's book, and this is Shattered, Twisted, and Unraveled. And I absolutely love this because this is Ryan and Ruby is the police detective that worked on Melanie's case, and because something happens to Melanie in these particular books that are related to Talon's story. So you got to read it to find out. So Ruby then comes in, and I love this because we are, destination, they're in Jamaica for several things. And while they're in Jamaica, there's a nudist colony there, and there are some girls that they meet at the nudist colony, and while Ruby and Ryan are out walking, and Ruby is a police detective, and so she cautions these girls because these guys come up and say, hey, we want to take you on a ride and explore, we want to show you some sights, and these girls are on a nudist colony, and they're stark raving naked, and they go off with these guys that they've never met before, they don't even know, and of course these girls get kidnapped. And so there is an evolution of the story that's connected to the bigger part of the story that we're trying to find out. There's lots of loops and turns and twists, but it's so good nonetheless. Ryan is trying to come to terms with his place in the Steele family. There are some revelations that are made about who Ryan is and how Ryan fits in, and Ruby is there to support him through it. But Ruby also, there are some revelations about Ruby and how Ruby fits into this bigger story, because like I said, it is a tapestry, and if you pull on one little thread, something else over here unwinds and unravels because it is all connected, and it's really good. And I would rank this the same as I do Jonah's story. It is a 4 angst, a 4 spice, and a 4 overall rating, and so it's really, really good. Then the next 3 books are Marjorie's story, the baby sister, and that is Breathless, Ravenous, Insatiable. I love her story. We've seen her throughout. She is the one who's coping. She's having the most difficulty coping with what's happened to her brothers, especially what happened to Talon. Now, this is her connection with Bryce. Bryce is Jonah's best friend, and we see that Bryce has a story to tell. He connects as well with all the other characters, and we start to see some revelations that's happened with Bryce, and it is, whoa, what a tangled web we weave, because everybody is connected. Every character that she has introduced in each of these books thus far has a piece in this, and they are not brought up for just nothing. They are relevant, so pay attention to all of them. And so when we get to Bryce and Marjorie's story, boy, it packs a punch. There is a lot here. We even see characters that were early on in the beginning when Talon connects with Jade, and Jade was set to be married to Colin, and Colin leaves her at the altar. Colin appears in these books. Like I said, every character is relevant. No character is just brought up as like an irrelevant side character. They all have some meaning and have something to say, and so we need to pay attention to what they're saying. So these books are really powerful, really, really good. I got a little bit bored with Marjorie's storyline, but I still gave it a 4 nonetheless. I gave it a 3 in terms of angst and a 3 in terms of spice, but we are still getting more and more of the story as well. Now, throughout all of these books, we've been hearing about the parents, Daphne and Brad Steele. And Brad has come up, and Brad is the father of all of the 4 Steele kids. We have been hearing about Brad and the dastardly deeds that Brad has done. And we've been hearing about Daphne, who we believe some things about her. We believe that she committed suicide because she couldn't take the pressure when Talon was abducted, and all of these things. And I just felt like I need to hear Brad's story, because there is so many complexities to what's going on with Brad. Like, I need to hear what the story is. And she did that. So this story goes back 40 years, and it goes back to the very beginning, and it tells you fate, legacy, and descent. And I have to say that I thought that I loved Talon's story, and Brad's story I love so much more. Fate tells the story of how Brad and Daphne got together, how they met, and it tells Daphne's history of mental health issues and what Brad was willing to do for her. And it was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. When I say that you think that Brad is misunderstood and you don't understand him, you just don't understand him. Like, and what you thought you knew about Brad in all these other books, when you hear him tell you his story, your heart just breaks for him. And this is a beautiful story of 2 people, 2 young people in love that have the future ahead of them, and they feel like it's fated, and they feel like they have everything to live for and nothing to lose, and that they're just going to build a life together. But a few ill-fated decisions haunt him for eternity. He cannot get away from them, and it's told here. And then here is, he's building a legacy. He's building a legacy for his family, for the 4 Steele kids that he is to have, that he doesn't know he's going to have, but that he knows that are coming. And everything he does for his family. And some of it he does for selfish reasons. Some of it he does for selfish reasons, for sure. But he does everything for his wife and for his children. And the story is told here. It's so emotional. It's so good, because you hated Brad. I hated him until, like, I heard his story. And then when he told me his story himself, I went, oh man, I totally misunderstood you. I did not give you a shot. The shit that happened to your kids, whoo! In Descent, we start to see why, but man, that's not how it started, and the story never starts that way, right? Like, it never is the way that we go with open eyes and bated breath and real high expectations, and through a few decisions, you go down a terrible path, and you know, what a tangled web we weave, and that's what happened to Brad. And then the final story is Descent, and Descent tells how it all sort of fell apart, and how it all went downhill, and what all happened. And I have to say that I can't stop thinking about this book, and I can't stop thinking about Brad's story, because I'm just like, man, and even in the end, his children never forgive him. Never forgive him. And I just wish that he would have written a memoir for them to read. I wonder if they would have felt differently. And I'm still reading the books, and I'm still hearing what's going on with the family, with the Steele saga and the Steele legacy, but I just wish that he would have had an opportunity to tell. And even when he did try to tell them, they were so sick to death of the lies that they're like, I don't fucking believe you. I don't believe you. You're a bullshitter and you're a liar, because he lied so much. But you don't understand why he lied. But even then, I'm like, why did you lie? Like, just come clean. I know you were trying to protect, because that's what you learned from your father, because you get to see Brad in these books with his father and his mother. So the grandparents of the Steele kids, so we got to see them because they all died before, and so you got to see why Brad did what he did because it's what he was trained to do. And so I think that this was an eloquent story that was very well timed and very well placed and needed to be here. It needed to be told when it was told. And when it ended, I was heartbroken. And I'm still heartbroken over it. And I was hoping that I was going to get more of it. And so the last part of the books sort of go in a different direction. And so we start with Awakening. And the Awakening seems like it's going to be a continuation of the Steele saga. However, in this time, we're looking at all of the children. So you've got Brad and Daphne. Then you've got the 4 Steele siblings, Jonah, Talon, Ryan, and Marjorie, and their spouses. And then they all have like at least 2, and some have 4 children. And so now we're hearing the children's story. So it kind of ended on a sour, not a sour note. Like I said, I absolutely loved these last 3 books, Fate, Legacy, and Descent. I absolutely loved it because we've been hearing everybody talk about Brad. I wanted to hear from Brad, so I got to hear Brad's story, and Brad's story is heartbreaking and beautiful, and it's a tragic love story. It feels like Romeo and Juliet in a way that's like fated, but like fated to not go as ideally as you would have liked to because of forces unbeknownst and outside of them, and poor choices and other circumstances and people that got in the way. And so I really would have liked to have seen more people pay for what has happened to them, and more people sort of be held accountable, and more people sort of pay their dues. So we'll see where the next books go. I think they're obviously where she is thus far. She's not going to be able to cover all the siblings, and if I don't know if she's going to do 3 books for each sibling, or if each of the, you know, the children, the grandchildren, or the, you know, children of the main couples that we just talked about, like if they're just going to get 1 book and then we're going to cover them all. I'm not sure how she's going to do it. So the next installment of this video will be about the kids, and so we'll talk about that. So I do highly recommend these books. Like I said, they are super spicy and super sexy. So if you want to get some kink, if you want to get some like, I want to be buried deep in you, like that type situation, you're going to get it in these books for sure. But you're also going to get like a really interesting mystery, suspense sort of plot line as well. And, you know, you definitely have the trope of like, I am grumpy, but for everybody else but you. And you're the only one who can fix me and help me to come to terms with, you know, everything that's happened in my life. And so they're definitely worth a read, and there are some really gems in here. Some are just like, okay, but there are some books that you're just like, damn, that was really good. So it's definitely worth a read. So if you have not checked out this, and if you tend to like a small town romance, and if you like, you know, found family, connected family, lots of characters that you see banter amongst all of these characters, you see them all the time, you're with them, you spend a lot of time with them, you get to know the world really well. This is the world. The Steele Brothers saga is the world for you. So having said that, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please do me a favor and like the video because it really helps me. Comment below and tell me your thoughts on it. Tell me if you've read this Steele Brothers. Tell me about some other books out there that are very similar to this that you would like for example, the Puck series. That's another one that I could think of that's very similar, like a cast of characters that everybody's together. Or the, what's the brothers? The Lauren Rowe books, and it's the brothers, and one is Ball Peen Hammer, one is The Hero, one is, you know which ones I'm talking about? They're like all the big brothers. It's a big family. Like it's similar to like the Calloway sisters, like the Addicted series, and then there's the Lauren Rowe books. There's the brothers. There's a bunch of brothers. I can't remember their names, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So like anything that's similar to that, in that vein, if you know of something like that, put it in the comments below, because I love me big families and I love some sexy billionaire boys, so I want to read more about them. And if they're hockey, oh my gosh, it's all the better. So you guys, that's all that I have for today. I really hope that you like this video. Hit the bell notification button so you can be notified every time I upload a new video, which is generally 3 times a week, but I'm finding that my pattern is more going to be whenever I finish a series and I can get you up that series and get it on to you in a timely manner, that's what I'm doing. So that's going to be my jive for 2022, so we'll see how that goes. But that's all that I have for today, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!